There are hundreds of characters in Naruto. Some are powerful, some are funny, some are terrifying, but only a few characters stay in your mind long after the story ends. And Itachi Uchiha is one of them. At first, Itachi seems like a cold-blooded villain. He joins the Akatsuki. He attacks his own village. He destroys his entire clan. And worst of all, he becomes the person Sasuke hates more than anyone. But that's only the story Naruto wants you to believe at first. Because behind Itachi's terrifying reputation was a boy who grew up far too quickly. Itachi was born into the famous Uchiha clan. From a very young age, he was different. While other children were thinking about games and becoming stronger, Itachi was already thinking about war. He witnessed the horrors of battle as a child. And those experiences completely changed how he viewed the world. Itachi didn't dream about becoming the strongest shinobi. He wanted something much simpler, peace. That desire made him unusually mature. He questioned why people fought. He questioned why villages needed enemies. And he understood something most adults couldn't. War doesn't create winners. It creates generations of people who inherit hatred. Itachi's natural talent only made things more complicated. He became a skilled shinobi incredibly young. He eventually joined the Umbu, the village's elite covert forces. But while Itachi was becoming stronger, his relationship with his clan was becoming more complicated. The Uchiha clan felt increasingly isolated from Konoha. Tensions between the clan and the village continued growing. And eventually, the Uchiha began planning a coup. Itachi found himself trapped between two worlds. On one side was his family. On the other was the village. And in the middle was his younger brother, Sasuke. Sasuke was the person Itachi loved most. Unlike everyone else, Sasuke didn't care about politics. He just wanted to spend time with his older brother. And Itachi loved him deeply. But Itachi knew that a conflict between the Uchiha and Konoha could lead to a devastating civil war. Thousands could die, the village could collapse, and other nations could take advantage of the chaos. Itachi was eventually placed in an impossible position. He had to choose between his clan and the village, and whatever choice he made, someone would suffer. This is where Itachi's story becomes tragic. Because Itachi wasn't given a good choice. He was given two terrible choices, and he chose the one he believed would save the most lives. But there was one person he refused to sacrifice. Sasuke. Itachi wanted his little brother to survive. Even if Sasuke eventually hated him, even if Sasuke believed he was a monster, Itachi accepted that hatred, because he believed Sasuke being alive was more important than being loved by him. And that's the first reason people love Itachi. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to become hated for someone else's sake. And the saddest part? Sasuke wouldn't understand the truth for years. For most of Naruto, Itachi is presented as a monster. Sasuke spends years chasing him. He wants revenge. He wants to kill the brother who destroyed his entire life. And Itachi never tries to stop him from hating him. That's what makes their relationship so painful. When Sasuke was young, Itachi gave him one simple purpose. Become stronger, survive, and eventually come after me. Itachi deliberately made himself Sasuke's greatest enemy. He wanted Sasuke to have a reason to live. But there was another reason. Itachi wanted Sasuke to become strong enough to protect himself. The night of the massacre became the defining moment of both their lives. Itachi killed members of the Uchiha clan. But before leaving, he faced Sasuke. And instead of telling him the truth, Itachi made himself the villain. He told Sasuke to hate him. He told him to become stronger. And then he disappeared. Imagine being Sasuke. You're still a child. You return home. Your entire family is dead. And the only person left is your older brother. But that same brother tells you he did it. That's the memory Sasuke carries for years. His entire identity becomes built around revenge. He doesn't want friendship. He doesn't care about recognition. He wants one thing: to kill Itachi. Meanwhile, Itachi joins the Akatsuki. And from the outside, he looks like a genuine criminal. He works alongside dangerous shinobi. He enters battles. He captures Jinchuriki. He even attacks Konoha. But there were details hidden beneath the surface. Itachi was still protecting Sasuke. He kept an eye on his brother from a distance. He also understood that if powerful enemies discovered Sasuke's connection to the Uchiha, Sasuke could become a target. So Itachi carried the burden alone. Then came the battle everyone had been waiting for. Sasuke finally faced Itachi. Years of hatred exploded into one fight. Sasuke believed this was his chance to finally get revenge. Itachi, however, had a completely different goal. He wanted Sasuke to defeat him. Itachi was already seriously ill. His body was failing. His eyesight was deteriorating. And he knew his time was running out. Still, he fought Sasuke. He pushed him to his limits. He forced him to confront his hatred. And eventually, Itachi reached Sasuke. But instead of killing him, he performed one final gesture. He tapped Sasuke's forehead, the same way he had done when Sasuke was a child. Then Itachi died. For Sasuke, it looked like victory. But the truth was only beginning. Because after Itachi's death, Sasuke learned something that completely changed his world. Itachi hadn't destroyed the Uchiha because he hated them. He had done it because he believed the alternative would be even worse. He had sacrificed his own reputation, his family, his future, and eventually his life, all to protect his younger brother. And suddenly, the person Sasuke hated most became the person he understood least. That revelation is one of the biggest reasons Itachi became so beloved. The story completely changes when you realize the villain wasn't chasing power. He was carrying a secret, and he was willing to die without anyone knowing it. Itachi is one of the most powerful characters in Naruto, but his strength isn't actually the main reason people love him. It's what his strength represented. Itachi didn't fight because he wanted attention. He didn't need people to recognize him. He rarely talked about his accomplishments. He simply did what he believed was necessary, and his abilities reflected that mentality. Itachi was an incredible strategist. He didn't rely purely on physical strength. He studied his opponents. He understood their weaknesses, and he usually won by controlling the situation before the opponent realized what was happening. His Sharingan made him extremely dangerous, but his Mangekyo Sharingan made him terrifying. He could use Tsukuyomi, a powerful genjutsu that trapped opponents inside an illusion. He could use Amaterasu, creating black flames that were extremely difficult to extinguish. And then there was Susanoo. Itachi's Susanoo possessed legendary weapons. The Totsuka blade could seal its targets. The Yata mirror was described as an incredibly powerful defensive weapon. But even with all this power, Itachi wasn't obsessed with proving himself. That's important. A lot of powerful characters want everyone to know they're powerful. Itachi didn't. He was quiet, calm, controlled, and sometimes terrifying without even raising his voice. But his greatest strength was probably his ability to endure. Think about everything Itachi carried. He lost his clan. He became hated by his brother. He lived as a criminal. He joined the Akatsuki. He became hunted by the village he had protected. And he did all of this while suffering from a serious illness. Yet he kept moving forward. He didn't tell everyone how much he was suffering. He didn't demand sympathy. He simply accepted the consequences of his decisions. That doesn't mean Itachi was perfect. And that's important. Itachi made mistakes. He manipulated Sasuke. He placed an enormous emotional burden on his younger brother. His plan for Sasuke wasn't flawless. In fact, some of his decisions created more problems later. But that's exactly what makes him interesting. He's not loved because every decision he made was correct. He's loved because his decisions came from complicated motivations. Itachi also understood something about power. Being powerful doesn't mean you can control everything. Sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one who chooses not to fight. That's why many of Itachi's quiet moments are more memorable than his biggest battles. His expression, his silence, his crows, his forehead protector, his famous hand signs, even the way he walked became recognizable. But there's one moment that captures Itachi better than almost anything else. His final moment with Sasuke. After everything they've been through, Itachi doesn't give Sasuke a long speech. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He simply reaches out and taps his brother's forehead. That tiny gesture carries years of history. It reminds us that beneath the shinobi, the Umbu, the Akatsuki member, and the supposed villain, there was still an older brother. And that is why Itachi's power isn't what makes him unforgettable. His humanity does. So why does everyone love Itachi Uchiha? The answer isn't simply because he's cool. It's not because of the Sharingan. It's not because of the Akatsuki cloak. And it isn't even because he's one of Naruto's strongest characters. People love Itachi because his entire story is built around sacrifice. He chose to carry a burden that nobody else understood. He allowed the people he loved to hate him, and he accepted that they might never discover the truth. That's an incredibly painful kind of sacrifice. Most people want their sacrifices to be recognized. Itachi didn't get that luxury. Sasuke hated him. Konoha feared him. The world remembered him as a criminal. And Itachi continued living with that reputation. He could have explained himself. He could have told Sasuke everything. He could have exposed the people who influenced the situation. But he believed keeping the truth hidden would give Sasuke a chance at a normal life. Ironically, his plan didn't work perfectly. Sasuke's hatred eventually pushed him down a darker path. But Itachi's love for his brother never disappeared. Even after death, Itachi's final actions were about Sasuke. When they finally met again during the Fourth Great Ninja War, Itachi got something he never had before. A chance to speak honestly. He could finally tell Sasuke that he had made mistakes. And that's another reason his character hits so hard. Itachi wasn't simply saying, "Everything I did was right." Instead, he acknowledged that he had failed in certain ways. He realized that trying to carry everything alone had been a mistake. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson in his story. You can't protect everyone by yourself. You can't control how other people will react. And sometimes, hiding the truth can hurt the people you're trying to protect. Itachi's tragedy isn't that he wasn't strong enough. It's that he tried to solve an impossible situation by himself. He believed he had to become the villain so everyone else could survive. And that choice eventually destroyed him. But despite everything, his final message to Sasuke wasn't about revenge. It was about love. The same brother who had spent years telling Sasuke to hate him finally admitted the truth. He loved him. And suddenly every memory changed. The forehead poke wasn't just a joke. His cold expressions weren't hatred. His distance wasn't indifference. Behind everything was a brother desperately trying to protect another brother. That's why Itachi remains one of the most beloved characters in anime. Because his story isn't really about being powerful. It's about what someone is willing to sacrifice for the people they love. Itachi wanted peace. He wanted Sasuke to live. And even though his choices were flawed, he never stopped caring about his brother. He died without receiving the understanding he deserved. But eventually the truth came out. And when it did, the character everyone thought was a monster became something completely different. A tragic hero, a flawed brother, a genius shinobi, and one of Naruto's most unforgettable characters. That's why everyone loves Itachi Uchiha. Not because he was perfect, but because, despite everything he lost, he never stopped loving his brother. There are characters you enjoy while watching an anime. Then there are characters you never truly forget. Itachi Uchiha belongs in the second category. His story ended years ago, but his character still creates debates, theories, edits, and emotional reactions. And that's because Itachi represents something much bigger than a powerful shinobi. He represents sacrifice. He represents love. And he represents the consequences of trying to carry everything alone. When we first meet Itachi, we're supposed to hate him. He's the monster responsible for destroying Sasuke's childhood. He's mysterious. He's emotionless. And every time he appears, Sasuke's hatred becomes stronger. But Naruto slowly forces us to question everything we thought we knew. Why did Itachi do it? Why did he spare Sasuke? Why did he join the Akatsuki? Why did he continue protecting Konoha? And most importantly, Why did he allow his own brother to hate him? The answers completely changed the way fans viewed him. Suddenly, scenes that once looked cruel became heartbreaking. The same Itachi who appeared to be mocking Sasuke was actually trying to push him away. The same man who looked like a villain was secretly protecting his brother. And the same person who seemed completely emotionless was carrying an enormous amount of pain. That's what makes Itachi's story so powerful. You don't understand him completely the first time you watch Naruto. You understand him more after learning the truth. And sometimes you understand him even more when you rewatch his scenes. But Itachi's story also teaches us something uncomfortable. Being willing to sacrifice yourself doesn't automatically make every decision correct. Itachi made serious mistakes. He believed he could control Sasuke's future. He believed keeping secrets would protect his brother. And he tried to solve problems that were far too complicated for one person. His intentions were often loving, but his methods created more suffering. And that's what makes his character feel human. He's not a perfect hero. He's a tragic character who made impossible choices. He wanted peace. He wanted Sasuke to survive. But he couldn't create a perfect world for his brother. Nobody could. Eventually, Sasuke learned the complete truth. And his entire understanding of Itachi changed. The person he spent his life trying to destroy became someone he wanted to understand. That's one of the most emotional parts of Naruto. Sasuke finally realizes that his brother wasn't simply the villain he imagined. He was a complicated person who loved him deeply. And perhaps that's the final reason Itachi remains so popular. His story doesn't tell us that love always produces perfect decisions. It tells us that people can love each other deeply and still make terrible mistakes. Itachi wanted to protect Sasuke, but he also needed to understand that Sasuke deserved the truth. He wanted to protect the village, but he couldn't solve its political problems alone. He wanted peace. But he lived in a world built around conflict. And despite all of that, he kept trying. That's why Itachi isn't remembered simply as an Uchiha. He's remembered as one of Naruto's most complex characters. His Sharingan made him powerful. His intelligence made him dangerous. His calm personality made him iconic. But his relationship with Sasuke made him unforgettable. Because underneath the Akatsuki cloak, underneath the Sharingan, underneath the reputation of a murderer, there was still a big brother. A brother who remembered the little boy who followed him everywhere. A brother who used to tap Sasuke on the forehead. A brother who wanted Sasuke to live. And even after everything went wrong, that love never disappeared. That's why, years after his death, people still talk about Itachi. They still analyze his decisions. They still debate whether his actions were justified. They still remember his final smile. And they still remember that final forehead tap. Because sometimes, the strongest characters aren't the ones who defeat everyone. They're the ones who carry something painful and keep moving forward anyway. Itachi's story is tragic. It isn't perfect, but that's exactly why it feels real. He wanted to protect everyone. He couldn't. He wanted Sasuke to understand him. He didn't. He wanted peace. He never truly got to experience it. But he left behind something that survived him. His love for his brother. And maybe that's the real reason everyone loves Itachi Uchiha. Not because he was unbeatable. Not because he was flawless. Not because he was always right. But because behind the legendary shinobi, there was simply a brother who loved his family and was willing to sacrifice everything for the person he loved most. That was Itachi Uchiha.